Okay, guys, let's get this party started here. Let me tell you something, man. I haven't been feeling content at all lately. I haven't really been enjoying the topics, and I even did like a little minor reaction on this. I reacted to Admin Preach talking about it, and I just didn't want to post it. It sucks. I don't know, man. I'm just not feeling stuff. But I want to do something with my wife, and that's what we're gonna do. I want to do the prompts with my wife. I think it'll be fun. We like making content together. We just do very poor managing a channel together. It just becomes too worky. So this is something that I'm looking forward to. I'm going to enjoy. We're really just going to look at the prompts today. I tried watching this offline. It's horrible. These videos are terrible.
What made it horrible?
It's not productive. The title of it is "Men's Rights Activists versus Feminists." It's not productive. It's just two groups arguing, and it's like so boring. And it's two groups arguing for one group at the sake of another. So that we're not sitting here and being like, "Hey, there's some problem with maybe men have this issue." It's like, "Oh, men have this issue and women stink," or the opposite. You know what I mean? It's always just like it's so stupid and unproductive. So I want to do it together. I want to do these things together. And this guy, funny enough, this is one of this. Hold on, this dude here. It's not him, dude. What? This guy supposedly was one of the men right activists, but he wasn't. He was a plant. That doesn't matter.
I don't know what any of those words
All
mean.
right, we're gonna do the prompts together. We're gonna have more fun. I'm looking forward to doing this today. Maybe we'll have a productive conversation. We're a healthy couple. Individually, we're very toxic, but together, we're very good. I love you. So let's just get into it. This is the first one. Men already have all of their rights. What do you think about that?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I don't really know what rights men don't really have. People brought up the draft before, because women don't have to sign up for the draft. But like, what? Nobody calls the draft, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. I don't have anything productive to say.
There's really no conversation to have because the obvious answer is like, yeah, men have all their rights in general. Like women, I'd say nowadays women do have all their rights too.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, aside from like the abortion bullshit.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I
like,
think abortion
what other rights?
I think it's mostly social. Like there are still workplace interactions where women are disfavored in some ways. You know, as a guy. And I'll talk about this a little bit. As a guy, when I used to work at my job, I used to clean buses, so I managed a bus cleaning crew. I wouldn't have a problem if there was a woman working there, but then if there was a woman working there, it would change the dynamic significantly because a bunch of guys together, like mechanic type of guys, you're talking about boobs sometimes, and then you're playing a lot of gay chicken, and so you sexually harass each other, like you legally sexually harass each other. So like we play gay chicken, and it's like, oh, we can touch each other's balls or kiss each other. Like it's like men are very gay.
Do you think that that's a you problem or a men problem?
I genuinely think it's a guy problem. A guy thing. It's a guy thing. All of us would do it. And if a woman was there, she'd get uncomfortable, which is, by the way, rightfully so. But even in that instance, like I could kind of see how the dynamic would shift. And maybe there's an instance where like a bunch of women together wouldn't want a man there either.
No, like even in like my department is literally all women. And I even go like just regionally, right now we're all women. But for my agency as a whole, I think that there's like potentially like I'm gonna say 10 tops, and that's being generous, of men in like the behavior specialist position. And so like we usually do have like woman-centered conversation, and then it's like, oh, like Mike's here, like.
But it's not bad. I know that we would never exclude a man or a woman, but it's like, oh, the dynamic is obviously gonna shift because men are a little different and women are a little different, and we feel different levels of comfort talking about different topics. So I could see why, and that's very charitable. I could see why maybe that would turn into women being excluded. And then there's also the aspect that like men think women are incapable, so like socially.
Well, yeah, but I think that they're like, this question is about like having rights. I think that rights are different than like social norms.
Yeah, I'd say women mostly have all the rights. I will say abortion is a restriction of women's rights.
Yeah, 100%.
Like if I could shoot a baby out of my penor, abortion would be completely legal.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But like honestly, I genuinely believe that, but since it's a woman's thing, I think that we have more restriction on that. I understand it's a sensitive topic. I don't think anybody likes the concept of abortion, but it's something. It's like a necessary thing, unfortunately. We know that a fucking little bean is not a fetus, is not the same as a human. We understand that we don't assign human personhood to it. So that's where I would say women are restricted for the most. For really, that's it.
Yeah, but no, I don't think there's any additional rights that men could have.
No.
So
No.
that's my answer.
You know, we actually used to legally be able to hit women. And I think in New Jersey implemented a law where we can only do it once a month. That's a restriction of a male right.
Okay.
I'm being silly. I'm being a silly guy. They stopped organizing their videos by the prompts, so now I have to like skip through.
So what, like, did you watch that first part of the video?
I did. It
so
was
like, what were their arguments?
It was boring. I couldn't get through it. It was honestly just completely brain rot. It was basically the same thing of like legally men still have their rights and stuff. It was fine. But they're also obnoxious and preachy, and it's just so it makes me want to scrape my fucking forehead against a rock on the curb.
Well, is that literally Pearl back there?
Yeah, this is her here.
Uh-huh.
She looks a little nicer than she used to look.
Okay. Did they like state their arguments that like men don't have all of their rights?
Yes. Okay. Well, if you wanted me to watch the full video beforehand, I would have forced myself to do it. I only got through like a third of it.
Well,
but,
I'm just curious. I thought that was part of our conversation.
No, I literally came upstairs to you while you're taking a big fat poop, and I said, "Baby, I couldn't get through it. It was really horribly boring. You want just the prompts?" And you're like, "Yeah,
you
sure."
already watched a synopsis video, so did they talk
I did
about
not.
that?
I'm about to answer your question. I love you so much. They brought up the draft as one instance. They brought up that men have less access to like welfare programs, but I don't really know exactly what they're talking about. And I don't know.
There's probably additional welfare programming for single mothers.
Probably, especially
because
for like
mothers
abused.
are usually the ones that have children.
That's going to be kind of like a prompt later.
Okay.
But like, yeah, mothers are the ones that usually take care of their kids because mothers want to take care of their kids more than fathers do. Like, let's just be realistic. But it was like a lot of that. It was.
Can I make a comment about the draft?
Yeah.
It's just so, like, it's fitting for men to be in the draft because, first of all, I don't want to fucking go. And second of all, like, if you're a big fucking man that's like, oh, I could do all this stuff, then go fucking fight the war.
Yeah, I guess.
You know?
I mean, that would be the way that they would say is upholding some kind of like naked, like that's some kind of systemic problem against men. But we don't uphold the draft. So we have it, but we don't uphold it. We have technology now. I feel like in the next 20 years, we're going to be just sending robots in to kill people. And then eventually Terminator style. Anyway, women experience more sexism than men. I mean, that's just, I feel like this is like factually correct.
Yeah.
There's no debate. Men experience sexism in different ways. I'm sure it does exist. Like, I would say that like some of the upholding, like it kind of sucks for guys that like we're kind of expected to hit on girls. And make the first move, especially now in a very awkward society because everybody's online. It makes it difficult. So like you have a bunch of antisocial men that don't even have their fucking fathers to teach them how to be men. And then they get like uncomfortable when they approach a woman in public. And then that woman might think that they're like a yucky, gross person and like be a little too hard on them. So that kind of sucks. So like there's that. And I mean, maybe there's a level of sexism there. There's a higher expectation of men to like succeed. You know what I mean? It's more acceptable for a woman to have like a shitty job than a man, I think, generally speaking. But outside of that, like women definitely experience more sexism. I mean, like literally the entire beauty, online beauty standards are like almost completely woman centric. Like I don't get bullied for being fat. Any fat woman existing gets bullied for their existence. It's actually insane on the internet.
I would say that there's probably more literal instances of women experiencing sexism, and that the sexism they experience is probably like more, big word, detrimental. Detrimental.
Yeah, you got it right the first time. Detrimental. Yeah.
Then like I feel like, and this is a stereotype of men, but I feel like men can probably brush stuff off more easily for the most part, or there's stuff that's just like, oh, that's annoying. Where like sometimes I would say that sexism, like you were kind of touching on, that women might experience, like really makes you hate yourself and stuff like that, or at least the things that I'm thinking of.
I think I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, active outward sexism towards men and women, like, yeah, I would say that's more dangerous for women in some instances. Like, some instances, it's like women, like, getting hit on, potentially, and then if it's unfavorable, the man might get a little angry. Men have usually the ability to fight back against a woman crying about them. More than a man, I guess. But yeah, no, I think it's more aggressive. I think sexism there's definitely like issues with men. I wouldn't even label sexism, but definitely issues against men. But like sexism against women is much more aggressive. It's difficult to exist as a woman in any online space.
This just like, I hate this already because this is just like a not all men types of questions.
Well, yeah, we're being general. It's a general conversation about.
No, I know, but the prompts, even these, like, I don't know.
You think that they're
like,
almost
this was made to be a crybaby video.
This was meant to be an argumentative topic of conversation.
But that's the thing, is like there's not even an argument.
No, like this is just an objective truth. Women objectively experience more sexism than men. Like it's not even like it is just the truth.
Yeah.
It's because it's so interesting. Like as a guy, you can be ugly and unattractive.
Every guy's gonna have a girl that loves them.
Well, no, I'm not even going from that. I'm doing like on. Well, I mean, maybe I don't know if that's necessary. I mean, I feel like for men, it's harder to get like sex, but once you do get it, you can have a girlfriend. And for women, it's like hard to get into a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was gonna say like in the online space, because you know that's obviously I'm in there. It's you could be an ugly man and you can make it just fine. But if you're an ugly woman, like I don't think I know a single ugly woman that's successful. It doesn't matter if you're intelligent or not. I think that like it has a constant bearing on women. That if you're not attractive, like that nobody really thinks that you're worth listening to, and then if you're too attractive, nobody thinks you're worth listening to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really difficult, I think, for a woman to exist. And then like you're going to get bullied more as a woman, as a content, especially if you're fat. Like if you're overweight, you're going to get bullied. It doesn't really matter what you do in any capacity. You know, if you're like an OnlyFans girl, you know, people are going to look down at you, which maybe they should. But if you're like an OnlyFans guy, people are going to think you're a fucking badass. So they're going to listen to you more. Like there's no, yeah. I mean, generally speaking, there's like just more sexism against women in like every capacity socially. Realistically speaking, so I don't even think that's a contestment like that. And then just to suggest otherwise, I think is just sensitive. You have to be a sensitive like crybaby to think that this is not true. Like, and you're just wrong. So that's literally it. It was mostly them whinging, crying about like dumb shit. Here, they're all of them. There isn't a single non-annoying person in this conversation. I couldn't get through it. Then there's a Morgan and Morgan ad, just so you know.
I don't know who that is.
It's a law firm. Anyway. I haven't looked at any of the rest of these. So now we're going in blind.
Okay.
Women's sexual capital gives them an advantage over men. That's actually kind of an interesting question. What do you think about that?
I don't know.
The answer is yes, by the way. 100%. As a man, it's 100%. Because see, here's the thing. Women, the ability for a woman to potentially propose sex to a man and get something is obvious. Like they can get it, generally speaking. Especially since most men are dogs and they'll fuck somebody even if they're less attractive than them. But it's not even about the act of sexual capital. If a guy thinks a girl is cute and worth fucking, he will subconsciously treat them better. And like that's it. I don't know how women are with men, though. Like I don't know if you treat like cuter guys better. Probably goes both directions, honestly. Like if you see a handsome guy at work, you know you're married to me now and you only love me and never look at other guys, obviously. But I mean, if you see a handsome guy at work, you're probably going to treat him better, right?
Honestly, no.
What do you mean no? Why not?
I would only treat somebody better if I was like interested in that.
Well, that's the thing. Well, that makes sense. Well, that's the thing though, is I feel like men have the higher capacity to be interested in women than in reverse, if that makes sense.
And even if I'm like treating, I don't know what's wrong with my brain. It's not processing those words. I'm like not, and I don't want you to explain it to me. I'm just having a hard time like processing.
What I was gonna, okay.
But like if I wanted a guy's attention or whatever, like I'm gonna be nicer and like try to do more things. Sure. But that's the same thing a man would do.
For a woman. Well, this is what I was trying to say is I feel like because we're coming from the perspective that you're married, so you're kind of closed off, right? I feel like men in general are dogs and they don't close off the same way as women do.
I just feel like sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
In my experience, like, so this is what I'm hearing is basically like women are holding sex over a man's head, right?
Yeah.
But like, I've never had a guy, in my opinion, I've never personally, and maybe that's because like I have like the fat experience and like I'm also very like rigid in my boundaries. Like I'm not slutty. Like I don't sleep around.
That's true. You're very
so
intimidating.
Like I've never had a guy like do things to try to get in my pants.
Well, that makes sense because you are very attractive. You have friends that are not necessarily as attractive than you, and they get that sexual attention from men.
Yeah.
Because it's like an energy. It's like an energy. Like as a man, like as a Chad, 6'4", sexy, deep voice guy. Let's be real here, okay? With a nice, you can sense an energy from even unattractive women, and you will fuck them, and you'll do nice things for them to get sex. You're like, okay, cool, but you don't give that off at all. You are a fucking pistol. Like you're actually intimidating. I think a lot of men are scared of you. You remind me a little bit of my mother. That's what I think about when I'm boning. I'm like, Mom, oh. I'm just kidding.
But maybe that's the thing, like, because
I actually try not to think about it because I come too fast.
You're being
I'm just
disgusting.
kidding.
Maybe I just haven't experienced it because, like, they know, like, they're not going to break me.
You're completely closed off. No, like, you are completely closed off.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. Like,
I just feel like in my experience, like, men, like, if you're not down to do whatever when they ask, like, they're gonna move on.
In a lot of cases, like, yeah, pretty much. That's actually, I mean, that's how I used to be. You just kind of roll through women if they don't want to fuck or something. You just don't hang out with them.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I think that's why you would attract less masculine men, because you wouldn't give them that tale of attention. But then I know how to deal with the hard ass bitch. So now we're in love, actually, very much love. But
so, like, I don't disagree with this statement, but, like, I just don't identify with it.
I do. I think that I've been nicer to some girls that are more attractive. I'm never like a mean person, I don't think, but I would do more things for people. Like, I would be like, oh, she's cute, maybe I'll help her out a little bit just for the sake of it, because I like you more. Like, I know that I've treated men and women like a little different, and then maybe it's because they're women and I'm just like, I was taught chivalry. Or it might just be because, like, they're cute. I don't really know. Like, I remember I've told the story before where I used to, my job, when it gets, like, really snowy, the night before, we would set up the yard. So we have 200 buses in our yard, and instead of parking them in normal parking spots, we'd park them in, like, rows of 8 next to each other. So in the morning, they could very quickly plow, and they could just start pulling the buses out, and it's very efficient. When it was a male boss doing it, he would be outside and he would be like organizing or whatever. I would do it anyway. But when it was a female boss, I would be like, just go inside. I got to take care of it. And I don't know if that's because she was a woman and, like, I was taught to treat women better, or if because maybe part of it's because she was cute. Because she was okay looking, right? And so I feel like, would you stop that? I feel like that's a thing. And then I also feel like if a girl's a little flirtatious with a guy, she's more likely to get something out of him too.
Probably.
You know,
I guess.
But do you think that a man could get something out of a woman if he was flirtatious?
You're not wrong. What I'm reflecting, I'm just reflecting of my own experiences.
No, I get that. I'm trying to think if, like, a man could flirt with a girl and get something. I feel like they could. But maybe it would be considered more creepy and uncomfortable.
I think it really depends. Like,
I mean,
if the delivery guy comes in and you have, like, especially the older woman.
Well, yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
am I, like, fucking dead inside?
Well, you want to know
I'm
what?
not identifying with any of
Well, I
this.
flirt with a lot of women, actually, and it's all for fun. Like, I flirt with your grandmother last night.
Yeah.
She was funny. She doesn't like my beard being too short, long. So she walked up. She's like, "You didn't shave your beard shorter." I said, "I didn't want to get you too excited." And then, like, we were like, I would flirt with her. So I guess it depends on who you're kind of flirting with. And, like, they like it. People like it. Men and women both like flirting with each other if it's non-threatening. But I feel like men flirting with women can come off as more threatening than in the opposite direction sometimes. Especially since sometimes it's a male boss flirting with a woman. Because generally speaking, the male boss, the man's going to be the boss more. We're better than you, right? I'm just kidding. But we generally are going to be like
Sorry,
bosses.
I wasn't paying attention when I shook my head.
Okay. We're going to be the bosses more. So, like, that I think that's where it is. It's like there can be sometimes a little more of a fear when the man is the one hitting on the woman, especially in a workplace environment, probably. So I never really flirted in the workplace environment because I didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable. But why? What are you doing that?
I'm not doing anything.
What do you? Anyway, guys, if any of these moments resonate with you, timestamp them below. Maybe you were to watch it and let me know. Be some funny clips from here. Anyway, I think the answer is generally yes. Like, women have some sexual capital to them. Attractive people. If you're an ugly woman, you're probably not going to really get that. So
yeah.
But then at least you know that you advanced on your own merits. Hey, thank you for the $5 from Jax too. How are my guttural parents doing? Incredible. We're doing pretty well. We're actually riding a high. One point in the video, Pearl Davis, she complains that men, when it comes to divorce, don't get their kids, and she thinks it should be 50-50 custody. What do you think about 50-50 custody? You have a disgusted look on your face.
Do I? I was just looking at
I think 50-50 custody is a
I
think
hate her.
she's very stupid.
I do want to hang out and talk to her though.
Yeah, I know you'd have a productive conversation. 50-50 custody, I think, is just stupid.
I think that it should be 50-50 custody until it's not. Like I really
Well,
do.
how do you, if you have two households, because usually it's like you break up, you have two households, how do you do 50-50 without disrupting the life of that kid? That kid's going through his or their developmental phases. I feel like going to a new house every week could be very disruptive to their regular flow. And so if you had to pick one parent, I would pick the mother every time. Especially since most of the time the mother wants their kid more than the father does.
So I think that it should be 50-50, like from like baseline. And then I think that factors need to be taken in. Like it's not realistic to be 50-50 if you live in two different states. I think that people that truly care about their children, like perfect world, right? People will get divorced because they don't love each other, not because they don't want to be good parents, right?
Sure.
So if you want to be a good parent, like, and you want your kids half the time, like you need to put in that work. You need to have a conversation with your ex-partner and live in the same school district, in the same neighborhood.
That makes sense.
To have a person-centered life for your child.
Like
right?
what's best for the kid. And then maybe you're even like, you know what? My house will be better for our kid because we have A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z. But you can come over, or even co-op parenting. Like
yeah, like I've heard of families that still have like dinner together, even though they're like in different homes. Or maybe your 50-50 looks different. Maybe it's not a literal like 50-50.
No,
maybe
but it's
like
an equal
the kid
split.
goes with you for the summer, and yeah, that's gonna suck for the kid. Because they're going to want to be home with their friends, but they're going to create two different lives. It just depends on like how you go into it. But so I think
that requires a lot of maturity from the parents, and you know that these parents are using their kids sometimes to fight. But that's what I'm
saying is why I think it should be 50-50 baseline, and if we need to go away from the 50-50, like that's what the custody battles are about.
That makes sense. So it's like, okay, you guys get 50-50, now we have to divvy it up correctly. So you get 50-50, but maybe mom's house is in a better area than dad's house is for a school district, or maybe dad's workload is much more aggressive because like men tend to do a lot more, like they tend to be more career driven, especially in like a traditional household where the woman is like, hey, you stay home and do your 24/7 job, basically take care of the kid, house, and everything, and the guy's at work 60 hours a week. And then it's like, okay, well maybe it is better for the kid to stay with the mom and then dad to pay alimony or child support rather. And then on top of that, but dad gets to come over every night for dinner if he has the time, or he gets the kid on the weekend. Yeah, so that makes sense. But the way that they think 50-50 works is like they should have everything down the middle. But that makes perfect sense. Is it should be 50-50 practically. Like what can you achieve?
It's also not only like times. I don't know if this is going to make sense, but it's not only like literal time spent. 50-50 is like your rights to your child, your responsibility to provide to them. Yeah. Like that's not what it's about. It's not about it's having your children's body in your house.
Yeah, it's like what's the 50-50 effort? Because the kid also wants to be alone sometimes. So if you have a 13-year-old, 50-50 isn't you're here, 50% you're here. That kid's going to want to be by themselves like 90% of the time. And then that 10% time you're splitting, really. I think they say that you're going to see your kid for like 90% of the time you'll ever see them by the time they're 18.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, that's interesting though. But that's more mature. I don't know how easy it is for people to be mature in a custody battle.
No, and I think that's what the problem is, but I think that's also we're moving, even though there is obviously like stupid shit and people are dumb, I do think that we are moving. Like fathers are becoming more present.
Yeah.
Like I think we're moving productively parenting. Like I'm saying I think a lot.
No, I think
the period
of
time we're in right now is like really cringe because we were all the way this way and now we're going all the way this way now where like now everything is something. We're gonna go back to a nice middle.
Yeah, no, like it's like that rubber band effect back and forth. I think what was I gonna say? All right, that's why I got to interrupt you because I lose my train of thought. No, you're fine. It's my fault. I should have said. I should have interrupted you. Oh no, what I was gonna say is that it gets very difficult because people will use their kids to fight, but then also the lawyer system or the court system in general is horrible because in the court system, it's not about coming to the table and being reasonable. Because if you come to the table and are reasonable and I don't, I end up winning. Because I'm going to portray a narrative about my side and then you portray your narrative and we're going to find a middle ground somewhere. So if you portray the right narrative and I portray the wrong narrative, I get more because you didn't act like a bitch. And so that's the problem with the law, the court system in general, is it becomes very unreasonable because, like, in order to win a custody or any type of court battle in general, you have to over advocate and you have to lie about your situation.
I also think, and like, I don't think this is a thing because I never heard about, maybe like there should be a system put in place that has some type of CPS involvement after a divorce that has like custody
That's
going
interesting.
on,
That could be an interesting
just
idea.
to see like, okay, like this is the decision we made, like we're checking in 6 months a year, like how is it going, how is like the split going, like do custody things
almost
need to change?
a social worker that can like even talk with the kid a little bit once a month.
Like even if there's not a problem, like having check-ins, like being proactive is not a bad thing.
I think the start to that is people doing it intentionally and being like, we had a good experience with this, like, oh, my wife and I got divorced, but we decided to hire a therapist that we saw once a month, and we had our kids sit down, and we would sat down once a month, and we would just talk about what's going on, and we would work from there. It kept us balanced. That's a good idea. Thank you for the $5 from Jack Esposito. Hey, yo, Papa, I missed mass after an insane goon session.
Oh my god,
I've been there. It's so depressing. Goon session last night. I'm living on a prayer. I'm halfway there, and I'll make it, I swear. Pray for me. I will pray for you. And let me tell you something, man. Last time I missed something because I was jorking it, and by it, I obviously mean my peanuts, for too long, I just was so depressed. You know, that would happen to me a lot when I was younger, and I'm older now, and it's like, wow, that was pathetic.
I'm just so over
the peanuts.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, baby. I love you. I will. Sorry, Jack. We were just in the middle of the conversation. I don't want to derail it. I love you, brother. All right. So, women's sexual capital, feminism. Oh, here we go. Feminism is trying to remove masculinity from society. I think this is so, and I'm sorry for being very regressive. This is the gayest thing I've ever heard. I'm so tired of it because, like, feminism is fine. Sometimes people whinge about feminism in the same way that sometimes people whinge about male advocation. I never see male advocation that's like, hey, guys, we need to be like, this is an issue with men. It's always like, fuck women. And a lot of times when I see feminism now, it's always just like, fuck men. You know, I think the core of feminism is not that, but I think we mostly have all our issues settled, except for abortion. Everything else is settled. So now it's sometimes feminism is just complaining or talking about social problems, which are very real, and I would say disproportionately impact women. But it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, not all men are masculine, not all women are feminine. We're both very masculine. And it's like, okay, we have more feminine men now, and now we have more masculine women, and that's literally it. And who gives a singular? Who fucking cares? It's just so stupid.
What do you think of like posters and stuff? Like, who is like the person on like feminist posters?
Like a feminist poster child? Like, who would I? What do you mean?
Who is it? Who do you think of?
Like, when I think of like feminist, like the more the negative type of feminism.
No, like a literal poster for feminism. Like, who is that image?
I think, who's your image?
Rosie the Riveter.
Oh,
she doesn't look fucking feminine. Like, she's literally taking on masculine qualities. This is just
that's actually because, so interesting. Like, I didn't even think about that.
When you're thinking feminism versus masculine, the people are taking on masculine qualities.
It's always
to
women,
represent feminism.
It's always women trying to be more masculine. And to be clear, men would say that women are becoming too masculine or whatever. Who cares? Like, there are masculine and feminine women. Who gives a shit? Let people just like settle their own shit out. Maybe a guy needs a more masculine woman or a more feminine or guy, feminine man or whatever. Who gives a shit? It's just so boring though. Like, this is usually the conversation that is almost turns into like, this is why third world countries that beat women to death with rocks are better. It's like, we're the most powerful military country in the entire world. Every one of our allies are also the most powerful countries in the entire world. We could single-handedly take on half of the world, and you want to tell us that we're becoming too feminine and we're crumbling as a society. We let people criticize us. And it's one of those things where, and there are instances where it's like, our country lets us criticize, and this is like my thing. Like, we want to talk about, because always it comes with like, oh, we're becoming too feminine, we're becoming weak. We're the most powerful country in the world. This is an objective truth. There's no debating this. But people are allowed to criticize us because we have freedom of speech. Other countries, they don't have freedom of speech. They're not allowed to criticize each other, themselves. And it's like, for some reason, you think that because we criticize ourselves as a country that we're weak. But like, no, we just let you do that, and we're acknowledging of our failures because we have the ability to be better. There's other countries that are killing gay people and women because they fucking exist or like fart. So like, you know, you guys, you're cringe. Your fucking non-Western culture is cringe. Sorry, suck a fart. We have more rights. We have freedom of speech. We're more powerful. Some women are getting more masculine, and I think for men it's intimidating because they're pussies. It's, you know what I mean?
I was gonna say, like, well, to those men, like, being masculine means being angry.
That's true.
And like, this is also just a dumbass thing, like, prompt, because
I have something.
What they really mean to say is, are they trying to make men less masculine? Which the answer is yes, but that masculinity is not going away from society, because what we're trying to do is this.
Yeah, well, this is
like,
the
we're
thing.
trying to make women harder and men softer.
Yeah. Well,
so like that.
Yes, but like not in a bad way. Like
no,
people,
not in a bad way at all.
When people hear masculinity, they hear the positivity. When people hear femininity, they hear negativity. For me, being with you has made me more feminine in the case where like I'm more empathetic and understanding, and I'm less angry, and I'm less violent, and I'm more controlled, and I'm more patient. A lot of these things are feminine qualities, right? Like I'm still a masculine man, but I have more feminine qualities. Like that's a positive thing. I'm a more balanced human being. And like women having more masculine qualities means like they work and they have the ability to provide for themselves. I would say these are traditionally masculine things in our society. And so now they're more balanced and they don't have to be in a situation where they're controlled by a man. So there's nothing wrong with making men more feminine and women more masculine in general, you know. And if you're a very feminine man, like your gay friends, they're very feminine, but they're great. There's nothing wrong with them. Like, but that's who they are. They were not going to be magically more masculine because, well, the society beat them into not being gay. Or like, what? Like, how stupid? It's just like dumb. You know, let people do what they want and settle into their own space. In general, like it's not that big of a deal. I don't think we should teach people to be weak. There's a difference between acknowledging your feelings versus like crying or being unproductive about them. Like me acknowledging that like, oh, I've had this problem is fine. Me fucking whinging and crying about it and making an excuse about it every day is a problem. There's nothing wrong with me crying productively like with you.
No.
But me making a victim out of myself, which is what a lot of these groups do, the male and the female groups nowadays, that's not productive. That's just stupid. That's like childish, dumb bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also I want to say something before too, because I don't know. I know I'm going on a fucking tangent, but I get so annoyed when people, especially these red pill spheres, talk about how they want a feminine or a submissive woman. Because I always hear a red flag when I hear submissive. There's a difference to me between a submissive woman. It's like a dog whistle. You can interpret submissive as like, oh, she like will let me take lead of the household, or you can hear submissive as like she'll let me steamroll her and do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
Like that becomes abusive very quickly. Like I would be an abusive person if I was with a submissive woman. Not because I want to be, but because like I steamroll.
What did you tell them yet the other day? I don't even remember what it was about, but he raised his voice at me.
Yeah, I didn't yell. I raised
and he didn't even raise his voice at me. He said something like loudly.
Yeah.
And he was walking away. Like we weren't even really fighting, but I yelled back at him and I was like, don't yell at me, I'll yell at you.
And I said, okay, I'm sorry. I think I said, oh, sorry, I appreciate you setting a firm boundary with me. And you were like, are you fucking with me? I was like, no, I do actually appreciate it. But I'm the person.
Like who else no one else that you've dated would have said that to you. But
no, that's like the problem. Is like I need a more masculine woman to like tell me to chill the fuck out, or else I will start to steamroll. And like so I don't like submissive because I couldn't be with a weak woman, and that's honestly how I look at it.
That's why our relationship is so good.
It really does work very well. But I can't. Submissive usually means a weak woman. Like you will be.
I am submissive.
Well, I was about to say you are submissive in different ways, but it's not in like the you'll let me roll over you submissive.
Yeah,
it's different because I always see submissive from these red pill guys as a dog whistle, to be like, I want a weak woman that will let me do it, because they want to be able to date a girl, cheat, make all the money. They want the woman to stay home, not get a job, not do this. Now they have so many restrictions for her, but they have no restrictions on them. They're looking for a weak woman they can steamroll. That's why it's usually 35-year-old men trying to date fucking 18-year-old kids.
It's just so crazy, and that's why they do that, because they're just so empty. So they're looking to fill.
They're
so
also
they think that all of those things are going to fill them up, but it never does.
They're also gay and want cock.
Oh, 100%. That's when they'll get filled.
Yeah, they just need a cock in their ass, and then they want to dress like a maid and get fucking anally.
It's crazy.
sodomized.
This is that's why I hate men. You know, like I just fucking hate them.
Why? Because they're gay?
Because that when I think of men, unfortunately, I think that's like the group of men I think of.
The red pill men that that are just really gay.
Yeah.
Well, you know what else it is, that they're really stupid, so they want to date girls that are their mental intelligence. because they are like extraordinarily stupid and immature.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's see. Feminism trying to remove masculinity. What's the next one? Is it about men should go to therapy? I mean, this is just like a personal thing. I don't think that everybody or men need to go to therapy. People need to try to learn how to have productive emotional communication with their partner or with anybody, really. Enough to express and communicate your feelings in a way that's non-divisive or antagonistic, but not so much that you're fucking constantly crying and complaining.
I think that therapy is not right for everybody. I think that it's okay for some people to not want to unpack all their things, but I think it's important for everybody to have therapeutic things in their life.
Yeah, because sometimes, here's the thing. It's not bad to go to therapy and unpack, but if you have a lot of trauma, which is, I think the idea is to avoid the trauma in the first place.
Oh, 100%.
That's what we need to do. But if you have a trauma, the reality is if you unpack it, you're going to be in a worse place for a little while, and then you're going to get better. But some people just can't handle the worst, and that's okay if you can't. But it's about acknowledging the problems and then not creating that trauma for your kid. That's a more important. It's like drug use. It's like sometimes some people are going to be on drugs and you're really not going to be able to stop them. But how do we get new people from not doing drugs in the first place? And it's like one of those things. But I think therapy is overall can be very good. But then also you have to have an honest conversation with your therapist, and then you have to have a good therapist. And how are you going to figure out if you have a good therapist if you're not mentally all there? Because like I remember there was somebody in our life that was going to therapy, and their doctor was like, one of the things they said was like, God, this doctor's a fucking moron. You know, so it's like, Jesus Christ, some of these doctors are very stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I think I know it.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It's just like, because you're not a therapist, but you are very adjacent. You're a social worker.
Oh, well, that's literally one of the things I could do. I'm not a therapist because I'm a social worker, but I could.
You can do, yeah. Well, it's one of the things we're talking about.
Mental health counseling.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just like, damn. And even regular doctors are stupid. We were talking about my fucking, my gastro doctor. The first thing he did to come in, and I was like, hey, I have gastro symptoms. My primary care physician, my ER is telling me, the ER is telling me this, my primary care physician is telling me this, and my mother-in-law who's a nurse telling me this. Oh, you don't have gastro problems. It's actually a heart problem. Doctors are stupid. Doctors are used to just telling you what is going on and you just listening and being a fucking good little boy. So, you know, start advocating for yourself. So many fucking terrible doctors lately. Makes me so fucking angry. I'm gonna start yelling at doctors. But I don't think
that men need to go to therapy any more than women do.
Yeah, men just need to have a good positive therapy.
Honestly, men aren't ready. In general, again, men aren't ready for therapy.
I think it would be good for men.
If you put these typical men in an office with a therapist, it's not going to be productive.
No,
you need to do a lot of little things first before somebody is ready to go into therapy.
I mean, honestly, a lot of men, and even me in general, need a good woman that'll kind of just deal with some of our fucking problems. And in the same vein, I think women, yourself included, need a man who could deal with some of your fucking problems. You know, I think we just need a partner that could deal with our fucking problems, you know, back and forth. You're like each other's therapist.
To a degree, I don't think that always works.
No, not for everybody. I mean, we're in a different situation because you literally are like, you're a social worker. Like it does make it a little easier. Yeah, and you are a behavioral specialist, and I think everybody could use a little behavioral therapy, honestly. So we get that feedback in a positive way, and then your existence of a behavioral therapist is almost, because I listen to everything you tell me at work, and so or when you talk to me about work, so I have a little behavioral therapy in me. I'm a little qualified to do to do each other, you know. So it helps out. Men should go to therapy. It's important for women to become mothers. Sure.
This video was dog shit. They were like, what could we do?
This is supposed to be a divisive conversation. What they really want people to do is they want one side to say, you know, you don't need to become a mother, and they want the other side to say we need mothers and women need to be more feminine about it. That's the whole point of this conversation. This is a dog. These are really, I mean, to some degree, dog whistle questions. They're intentionally antagonistic. Like I think it is good. Why even talk about mothers? I think men and women should become parents. If you don't want to do that, that's okay. But I think it's good to be a parent. I want to be a parent so I could pass down my genetics and my teachings to people and hopefully make more productive members of society that are very successful. That's what I want to do. That will give me meaning. I think that you should want that at some point in your life. If you don't, that is okay. But I think that that's how people should act. But I would never legislate or tell you or force you to do that. That's a very simple answer. choosing women and not both men and women is funny because, in my opinion, we have more of a problem with men not being fathers and women not being mothers.
Yeah.
We want to sit here and cry, bitch, and moan about women, working more and more and having kids later and not even having kids. But the overwhelming majority of these single parent relationships are single mothers where the dad doesn't want anything to do with the kid. Mm-hmm. And that is just a fact. And it's just unfortunately realistic. And there are men who suffer because of that want their kids. They suffer because the court system is so used to men being shit that they get roped into that. And I get that. But most men aren't shit when it comes to their kid. And part of it's because you have a baby in your fucking body for 9 months. So it's a baby to you. But then it comes out and the dad doesn't care, or the dad is a fucking pussy coward and decides to leave the parent in the middle of pregnancy because she changes and he can't deal with that because he's weak. And that's the reality. And it's funny because I was saying this another time, but that's why my mother's advice to every single mom is to let the dad see the kid as much as they want. And she's like,
yeah, don't force it.
Never,
really
never contest it. Never contest them. Come up with a reasonable agreement, but don't say no. And every time she's told this to people, and this is anecdotal, but every time she's told this to people, the fathers, they check out very quickly because they don't actually want to see their kids. They want to just fight about it.
No, and I was going to say this. I remembered when we were talking about custody battles and stuff. I really think that there should be more promotion of relinquishing rights.
Well, you're talking about so men wouldn't have to pay child support.
Well, no.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about absent parents.
Yeah.
And that includes not paying your child support or whatever. But if you are going to not be involved. Now I'm having a hard time explaining
No. If you're saying if you're not going to be involved, you should relinquish your rights. I think that
you should be honest and if you don't want to be involved in the kid's life, then just go away.
Yeah, don't
be
teeter.
Free. Let the other parent and the child be free, and then also I feel like there should be a cap. Even if we have split custody, if you're not doing your side, if you're not showing up, if you're not in your situation, for example, I feel like your mother should have been able to go to the courts and be listen, I don't want this guy to have any rights. Here's all the evidence that he hasn't been around, and let's just do this. Well, and move on.
He basically relinquished them, into you know what I mean. She's like, yeah, you can see your kid. Well, I know what you're saying is this way he can't show up and pop because he never popped in and out.
Yeah.
But in case there's a scenario where a guy was popping in and out, which was teasing the kid, it's emotionally destructive. And I had I'm angry just in general because of my father. But I never had that tease moment. Maybe a little bit when I met my half sister. That was upsetting because she's kind of a. That's all. That's all. That's too much. I get what you're saying. The only issue I have with the men or the whichever parent not paying child support is that it has a negative impact on the outcome of the kid, and that's my number one priority. Well, so I think that you should have to pay child support regardless. We could talk about government programs, but at the end of the day, you should have to pay child support. But if you don't want to have anything to do with your kid, you should opt out, and that's it.
That's right, and that's again I was saying there should be. Again, this is all shoulds, right?
Yeah.
I think that should be an option, that more parents should relinquish their rights to their child, and then there should be more government-based supports in place as well.
Sure, yeah. I can agree with that. Thank you so much for the $5 from JFK Gaming Channel. Hey, Papa, love the content. Did you see Synthetic Man says he wouldn't R-word the SA victim in Silent Hill 2 and hard behavior? No, I haven't. But just to keep in mind, Synthetic Man is a 30... I'm going to show you something. I'm going to actually just show you something, which is a little bit of a tangent. You're probably already gonna know the answer because I started saying it.
I encourage you to take a
that's
day
not
or
him. That's a gay guy.
You right.
Okay, this is Synthetic Man. How old do you think this guy is?
If this is the guy you were talking about the other day,
yeah.
I think he's 36.
No, well, he is 30, but he looks like a kid. He lives with his mom. He has a bad relationship with his parents. His mommy babied him his entire life. You could see that through watching his content. When he says jokes about how I wouldn't rape the girl that was raped in the game. He is a loser that is looking for attention. There's no actual threat behind his words or his actions or anything. He's a baby that's looking for attention because he's uninteresting and people only watch him because he's a lol cow. He's a loser. That's literally all it comes down to. He's unfuckable. He's undateable. He's unmarriable. He's completely worthless to society, and he would literally be standing behind dumpsters jerking off after he got out of his job at Five Below if it wasn't for YouTube. He's worthless. There's nothing going on with this person. Like, he's unproductive to society. He is the beta male in society that we usually will laugh at as people who are more masculine. And so for his alignment to even be in this weird, like, I hate women type of, I hate women and black people and gay people and stuff, like, the reason he feels that way is because everybody takes jobs from people like him because they're worthless. And back in the day, we didn't let women do things or gay people do things, and it allowed worthless pieces of shit men like this, men, I say loosely, get jobs because there was no one else, because we forcefully unqualified people based on like skin color. But now that's the best that he can pull off. This is the best that he can pull off. It's not even funny jokes. I make edgy humor for a living. Like, that's one of the greatest things is, like, you can't be like, oh, you're just sensitive. I make edgy jokes for a living successfully. That's my job. Like, especially like on my short stuff. Like, I make funny, edgy jokes. I can make jokes about topics and people don't really hate me because they don't come off as disrespectful. There's no dog whistle when I make a joke about gay people or trans people or black people or white people or women, because I don't hate women. Because it's like every joke I make, is like some kind of social advocation or how much I love my wife. There's no dog whistle. It's for fun. For him, he feels this way, and he's a loser. So, like, that's why he's not funny, and it's all dog whistling. He wants people to actually hate women and think that rape is funny, and it's not. You know what I mean? So he's just a loser. You shouldn't take it personally from him. He's looking for attention, because the only attention he can get is negative attention, because nobody watches him because they like his content. They watch him because he's a lolcow. He's a meme. Like, they watch him because he's a meme. Nobody respects that person. His mother doesn't respect him. His father doesn't respect him. Nobody respects him. If I was in his situation, I would have killed myself already. I'm like, okay, that's all that I'm saying. So, anyway, thank you for the $10 from Iman R. Papa, as a man, it is always difficult to truly open up and become vulnerable unless it is with a girl I am dating and can trust. As men, we open up sometimes to other men, but it is not as deep. Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess I agree with that. For sure, brother. I can agree with that. Thank you for the $10. Let's do the next prompt. Andrew Tate is having a positive. I don't even know if I want to answer this. Andrew Tate is
move on.
Andrew Tate's a sex trafficking rapist. I don't really know what else to say. Like,
maybe he's having a positive influence on society because maybe some people are having that conversation and realizing what he's doing is
disgusting. Yeah. Okay.
Or at least happening.
Oh, and we get to make fun of him for being a loser. But yeah, he's a sex trafficking rapist. So. We've looked through all the information. Let's just skip past that one. Let's see. The men's right movement is not as important as the feminist movement. See, what is the
correct?
It is correct, but what's the functionality of this conversation? Most men rights activism is in response to feminism and women wanting rights. That's just a reality. Men's rights were only advocated for because women said that they want rights, and now we're looking at some disparities. But I have never really seen a man bring up that, like, hey, men are struggling, without the tail end of that being like, but women bad. It's usually in response when women are like, hey, like, we historically haven't been able to get jobs. And they're like, well, yeah, but we have to sign up for the draft. It's like, well, yeah, but nobody takes that seriously. And the reason the draft was created is because we thought women are too inferior to join the military in the first place, right? So kind of, I hate to blame it on patriarchy because that's cringe to say. And also the subtextual argument when you say, like, when men complain about their rights and you say, well, yeah, but men built the system. What you're saying is that you did this to yourself, which you didn't. I was born into a system. And we're all upholding it. All the women that are asking for rights and saying we need to dismantle the patriarchy are the same ones saying that 5'6" men are disgusting losers, right? Like, you're upholding the same standards, but it's really not the same. Men need to talk about their feelings more. Women need more social advocation. You know what I mean? It's different. It's not as important. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
No.
But there's no productive conversation here. All we just did was dismiss men's feelings. And this conversation is meant to say to either dismiss men or dismiss women based on what side of the aisle that you're on. There's nothing productive about this conversation. I think that might be the last one. Hopefully, okay. I think that's the last one.
That was honestly horrible.
They
were scraping the barrel.
What's funny at the beginning of the video, the guy in the red shirt is like this guy, him.
Yeah.
He's like, I think that he's like, however long ago we did this conversation and we're going to do it again because I think it's relevant now more than ever. And I'm like, no, it's not. We're mostly over this dumb bullshit. Like, the men versus women thing is boring. Most people are over it. I wanted to do something with you because I like doing these things with you. And maybe we'll do more Jubilee prompts together in the future because I think that they're fun. But, like, this is not a relevant conversation now at all. Nobody cares. Shut up. And it's like, it's so boring because it's just like, please give us views and attention over like a stupid topic nobody gives a fuck about anymore. It's not productive or interesting. So that's pretty much that. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No.
All right.